At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. We encourage the volunteer spirit by providing DePaco employees with the tools and resources to help grow our communities and support the causes that matter to us. We believe that giving back not only strengthens the places we call home, but also enhances our overall well-being. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.
All things Hawkeyes. Your all-access pass from the sidelines to the postgame. Iowa's News Now Sports presents Eye on the Hawks. Sponsored by DePaco Community Credit Union and Pin Seekers.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Sunday edition of Eye on the Hawks, coming off Iowa's 18-16 defeat at the hands of the Oregon Ducks. Mitch Fick, Owen Sebring, Mike Howell here on a Sunday. Director Ren running the show behind the scenes here in the DePaco Studios, Broadcast Park. Big thanks to DePaco and Pin Seekers for their sponsorship. As always, you can follow us on the Iowa's News Now YouTube channel or wherever you listen to podcasts. Encourage you to go to the YouTube channel, though. Lots of post-game interviews with everybody that we talked to after the Hawks lost to the Ducks, and Owen's full post-game report up there as well, and any podcasts you may have missed. If you go to the Iowa's News Now bonus content tab, you'll find all that extra stuff, and then the Iowa's News, or the Eye on the Hawks tab itself is where you get those podcasts. So we tee it up to start things off, courtesy of Pin Seekers, with what felt like a tee shot to the gut for the Hawkeyes. Oh, what could have been against Oregon. Defense had an opportunity, and just Dante Moore and company making some big plays down the stretch, and plenty of other stuff throughout the game. Let's take a couple minutes, though, here from Coach Ferentz and company about one that's going to sting for a little bit.
I mean, just in that locker room, it was good to hear Coach. Coach just kind of said that has confidence in this team, and that we have a great team in that locker room. You know, we've been playing a lot of close games this year. This one we weren't able to pull out, but you know, we kind of kept telling everyone to keep their heads up, keep their heads high. You know, we played a great game, and that's a top-ranked team in the country, and we got to continue to learn from it, continue to build off of it, and we still have 3 games to end of this season. We can still end this season on a high note. Obviously, again, it didn't turn out the way we wanted to, but we got to continue to have our heads high and learn from it tomorrow.
It sucks. You work so hard for games like that, right? November football, you bring in a top 10 team. It's tough and it hurts, man. But, all you can do is respond and get back on the horse.
They did a lot of good things. We had a lot of missed tackles. That was a key to their offensive success. Just basic things that we got to work on, we got to clean up moving forward. But I think we did a lot of good things out there as well. Just we were able to make some plays, but we got to keep going and keep making more. Someone has to step up and make a play. It was down to us defensively. We like being in that position, but at the end of the day, we just didn't get the job done.
We competed our butts off, and that's just what we got to continue to do. You take a tough loss like that, you can't sit around and pout for too long. We got to get back to work at the end of the day.
It's really the second loss like this to this year, in my opinion, where 2 teams are just going back and forth and competing really hard. And coincidentally, both those teams we lost are really good, and I think we might be in that category too. We're not far off. So the trick is, how do we get up there to one more notch? How do we get close that thing out a little bit better? But it's not one player, it's not one possession necessarily. Everything kind of goes together, and everything matters at the end. So, let's go back to work. And the good news is that these guys we get to work with every day are just extremely resilient.
I heard Kirk say they aren't far off from being one of those great teams, but it was a couple miscues early that may have swung things a bit. You see the bad snap that resulted in a 39-yard loss and a safety that put Iowa in a 2-0 hole early, and then, the rush game for Oregon, averaging better than 7 yards a pop. More on that in a little bit. 19 on back-to-back to get that touchdown to put Iowa in a 9-0 hole. If you're watching on the Iowa's News Now YouTube channel, we got the highlights going right here. But the Caden Weegan fumble in the red zone in the third quarter, another dagger. What do you guys think of the final drive, and a great throw from Moore to Benson, and just everything that unfolded? The defense will take a lot of heat, but a lot of variables there on Saturday at Kinnick.
I mean, I will say at least that, you heard the guys talking about afterwards just in terms of loving the guys in the locker room and the fight that they showed, and they really did, I really thought Iowa was cooked after the Caden Weegan fumble. I thought, all right, that is the swing that Oregon definitely takes this game over, and it's done. But they came back and still put themselves not just in a position to win, but were winning with under 30 seconds left then. But just, gave up that final drive. I mean, man, just perfect scenario for Hawkeye fans, certainly, and Hawkeyes themselves, that if you wanted any team in the country basically to be relying on a defensive stop to win the game, I mean, the Hawkeyes are certainly up toward the top of your list of teams that you'd want out there, but just that Oregon offense is something else. I mean, they just, even on some of their drives where they did not score, that Oregon offense just cooked, just running through Iowa like hot knife through butter.
And they were missing the starting right tackle and their top, I don't know if the top top receiver, but their tight end. I don't know if he's up there in the receiving yards, but he's dynamic playmaker, and then they were missing those two. And, when you saw that early in the day, you're like, all right, this might be Iowa's chance. That Weegan fumble was a killer. I think the game's different if, you get points on that.
Yep.
I don't know if Iowa still wins. Oregon still could score a touchdown, the battle back. The snap, too, I don't think, that was the reason Iowa lost, but they lost by 2 points. And
so everyone points to it, yeah. And then a missed 2-point conversion, ties.
Yeah, the 2-point conversion, can Iowa make a darn 2-point conversion?
I've seen
over 3 this season.
Yeah. What are they, 5 of 23 or something like that in the last – I just saw some numbers today. I'm just kind of –
Yeah, Cody Hills had shared that. Let me take a look.
Not great numbers, though.
5 for 23 over the last 10 seasons, 1 for 8 the last 5 seasons, now 0 for 3 in 2025. It's so weird, though, because, the touchdown was around the same yardage.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa never does that quarterback run. They think it's going to happen, but also it's 4th and goal. You trust Mark to make a play.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hate it. I think, I'm not going to blame Kamari for it, but that was such a weird way to jump for it. I think if it's a receiver, they drag the feet just because they're taught to do that. It was a decent effort. It's a bummer that he didn't get his feet in.
I also don't weigh too much on those 2 points being the biggest factor, just because if Oregon's down by 3, if Oregon's down by more there, they might be going for
more
the touchdown
aggressive.
set. You know what I mean? They're maybe not just settling for that field goal. They might have just gone for the end zone a few more times.
I will say when you look at the replay, I have no idea what he's doing. He looks like he's snapping directionally, but Reese is right behind him. It wasn't over the head. He angled
the side.
it.
Yeah,
so
the right side.
Was Reese supposed to run out? But you don't run out for the catch. You either line up that way. So I don't want to, berate the kid too much, but it was just one of the worst snaps I've ever seen.
A first quarter punt snap didn't cost him. Yeah, it's
cost him points.
Yeah, it cost him points. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Giving up 7 yards a pop. That's
I did not see that coming.
36
Oregon's got a great rush offense, though.
They do, and Dan Lanning on Monday in his pregame presser, the one group he talked about more and more than anything else was Iowa's front four. That was their focus, and they got a big offensive line, and they got dudes that can dance around there. Whittingham's played a lot of football for the Ducks, and he showed out on Saturday. 36 rushes, none of those sacks, 1 tackle for loss for Iowa. Iowa is still one of the best rush defenses in college football ranking-wise. Even after this game, they're only giving up 3.2 yards a carry. 25 of Oregon's 36 carries went for 4 or more. 19 went for 5 or more. 7 went for at least 11. And that includes a 27-yarder and a 49-yarder from Dante Moore on what was a picture-perfect call of getting 8 guys to go one way, and then you've got a tight end blocking Deshaun Lee. It's just that was not anything I thought we'd see. They did a heck of a job. Iowa outgained Oregon in the pass game.
That's a shocker.
So put that feather in your cap. But that's you can point to any other variable that we've talked about, but boy, you just can't give up 7 yards a pop. Especially you can't give up more than half the rushes going for 5+. I mean, that's just every time. It was a big push by the front line, and those guys dance around and get yards. It was tough to watch.
I will say, man, I mean, we talked last week. I forget if it was Mike or Mitch who asked, what's the formula to a win? What does Iowa have to do to get a win? And, a lot of the things that we talked about, Iowa did.
Really well, yeah.
They won the turnover battle, right? I mean,
it was 1-1.
1-1.
It was technically 2-1. Technically 2-1. Weiskopf is credited with a lost fumble at the end.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that
Which,
one.
you know, that's why you always have to give context to numbers because it says Iowa has 2 turnovers.
Earlier in the fourth quarter, CBS had Iowa giving up 2 turnovers. I think they counted the punt, which is not a turnover. I mean, effectively it is, but it's not credited as one. But I was kind of scratching my head. I went to the box score. No, it was 1-1. But then that last one was 2-1.
It's the same thing. You know, it's a 39-yard loss, a net rush. So you look at the numbers and it says Iowa averaged 2.3 yards a carry. Well, sacks count as rushes in college. So there's 16 yards that doesn't count, and then a 39-yard rush. If you take those out, you saw it on Logan's graphic. They averaged 3.9, which still isn't great a rush, but the running game I thought for Iowa did fairly well. You know, their longest rush was 16 yards. They haven't had a lot of home runs aside from Gronowski a couple of times against Penn State, and then Xavier going back to the opener against Albany. I think Kamari's longest rush of the year is 22. He's had a couple of those, which is more impressive that he's still averaging 5.5 yards a pop without a big home run ball. But yeah, you feel like Iowa did about everything they could aside from, I can't. Do you remember another time where Caden's had an inside rush this season? They move him outside so much, and you know, and listen, you got to hang on to the football no matter what. But they don't run between guards. Yeah,
and it was kind of a weird play. It wasn't the flick.
Yeah,
it was like a pitch. So he had all this momentum, and then right when he got popped,
I like doing it that way because get him up to speed before he gets to the line. But it's just one of those moments.
We talked about Gronowski, I think, too, just like that he needed to play a perfect game. He needed to not throw a first quarter interception like he has a couple times this year. And he played about as well as you'd want him to be. 10 of 18, 138 yards and a touchdown. Had the rushing touchdown as well. Still have had a rushing touchdown by Gronowski in every single Iowa game this season, extending that record. And it was just a weird game where, well, I don't know. It's like the offense played about as well as you would want them to, or about as well as you could expect them to. And it was kind of the special teams and the defense that ended up really being the Achilles heel for Iowa yesterday. That's what kind of ended up biting him in the butt at the end of the game.
It's a huge part of the game that I haven't seen anyone really, but of course I haven't consumed all the media, but this is, in all their losses this year, there was, Iowa State, I don't know, but Penn State was a win, obviously, but Penn State, Indiana, and Oregon, the end of the first half, 2 rushes up the middle for 38 yards when there's a minute left, and they get points off that field goal. Every point's important. And against Penn State, obviously the blocked field goal for return for a touchdown. And then Indiana, they didn't rush the ball, but they still got down the field to kick a field goal. Those are huge. And they might not be the highlight plays, but, when the games are coming down to one score, those do matter. And I was a little disappointed at halftime. I'm like, man, it could have been a 2-point game.
Yeah. And I will 12-7 and 9-7 are 2 very different things.
Yeah. And I will give one caveat to me saying that, the defense was part of what bit him in the butt. That is still Oregon's lowest scoring game of the season, 18 points.
Yeah, you look at it.
It's the same thing with Indiana, right? They put up numbers, but not nearly and again, this is a team that put up 750 yards against Rutgers, but, they busted, I think, 3 different 60-yard rushes there and all that, and so that inflates things. But, yeah, you couldn't really ask for much more. And, it's just giving up 7 yards a pop. That's a tough thing to recover from, especially when 7 of them go for double digits.
And X talked about the missed tackles. 15 on the day were recorded. I got some trivia, though. You mentioned, it's not a good trivia, but you mentioned you didn't expect Oregon to go 161. Do you know the last game they gave up more rushing yards than that?
More than Oregon had today?
Yeah. Iowa.
It was something like 2022, wasn't it?
So
it was 2022.
Yeah, I saw that stat.
So you're saying the...
Oh, I didn't see it. I just looked it up before we recorded.
I would guess.
Box score.
Was it Ohio State in 22?
Ohio State had 203.
203.
There were 5 games that they lost where between now and then that they gave up 200.
So 2022 they gave up more than they gave up against Oregon. Who else did they lose to in 22? It wouldn't be Nebraska, right?
No.
It wouldn't be Nebraska.
Let's see.
This is the kicker. They actually won this game.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Not like Minnesota.
It's Minnesota in 22.
Really?
Minnesota rushed for 50 times for 312 yards and lost 13-10 at home or in Minneapolis.
Who was the leading rusher that game? I kind of remember.
I didn't look up that. I just looked at the team rushing stats.
It would have been Taylor, right? Taylor was still in.
Was Mo Ibrahim still there?
It would have been.
Mo.
That's who it was. Yeah, because there was the fumble at the very end, and then Jack Campbell wasn't out of bounds.
Yeah.
That's really the takeaway you need to have is Jack Campbell was not out of bounds. But it all worked out. Yeah, that was a wild one.
That's a wild stat. They gave two.
That was -1 wind chill
Yeah.
in Minneapolis.
That
That was cold.
They gave up 200+ against UCLA last year, Michigan State last year, Ohio State in last year, Tennessee in the bowl game, and Penn State in 23.
Mo Ibrahim,
46 carries, yeah.
263 yards he had in that game.
He had 40-some carries, right? Or was it
39?
39, yeah. I mean, that was...
I remember that game, but I don't remember them rushing over 300 yards. That's a wild...
Crazy. I mean, that's all he was. And they were on the precipice of winning that game until he had a fumble, and then they came back down. Was that Caliac Manis was the quarterback in that one? Yep, had threw a pick to Jack. Did Riley Moss maybe deflect that to Jack or something? Or I feel like Riley was, or maybe he forced the fumble.
I was not shooting that game. That was pre-Owen shooting Hawkeyes era. But
so Iowa now 3 losses by 10 points in this one, and definitely just a reminder of, Kirk brought up the 08 team, a team that lost 3 straight in that year to go to 3-3 by 1 score. Lost to Illinois by 1 score, I think, and then figured it out at the end.
Stanzi fumble, man, still haunts me.
But by the end of that year, who the hell wanted to play Iowa at the end of 2008 after they beat Penn State and went to Minnesota and won 55-0 to shut out the Metrodome? But just an idea of what winning and losing close games can do. The 2015 team was back in town, the Rose Bowl team. They were at Kinnick yesterday, 5-0. In 1-score games in the regular season. Obviously lost a 1-score game to Michigan State in the Big Ten title game. The 2010 Iowa team, this is what it's starting to feel like, a team that had
what if
so much, a big what if. 1-5 in 1-score games, and it could have been 0-6. They had to score with less than 3 minutes to go in Bloomington against Indiana, and that was not a Kirk Cignetti Indiana team, but it was one that gave them a scare at Kinnick, of course, the week before, or the year before, in 2009. Iowa is now 1-3 in 1-score games, and they got the 1-point win against Penn State, who... Listen, is there a better 3-6 team in college football history than the 2025 Penn State?
Hang the banner.
It's a heck of an effort. Another thing you talked about, just things that have been sticking out at the end of the first half. The final drives in Iowa's 3 losses, Iowa's given up either the longest pass play of the game or the second longest. At ISU, you had the Burkle bump where it flies up in the air and 17 yards there. Indiana get the little slant to Surratt and goes for 49 yards in the score. And then this one, and you can't even say, TJ played fantastic. Just more to Benson, an absolute dot. He makes a heck of a catch. That goes for 24. Before that, Moore had 88 yards passing, and half of those had come on 2 throws in the first half. Yeah, you can't play much better. But boy, it's just when the chips were down, they found ways to make plays, and you got to. That's a good Oregon team. I know some people, and they were beat up, and to go in and raining and all that, that's a heck of a win, and you just got to turn the page because you got to go west here in 6 days. Thanks to Pin Seekers for teeing up with us here to start the pod, and we turn back to, what we thought were the plays that were going to win this thing. Magic Mark, almost done, did it again. Let's hear from Gronowski, his coach, and Logan Jones about, a drive that could have been legendary.
That last drive was outstanding, and it was do or die. I mean, we had basically 4 plays down there from the 10 to either score or not, or score or go home, basically. And sometimes that's going to happen.
What were you thinking going into that last drive?
That we needed to be the reason there. It's kind of been our motto as an offense this year, and go out there and be the reason. I had a lot of belief in all the guys that were going in there. I'm proud of the way those guys competed to end that game. We put our team in a good position there, but obviously it just didn't turn out the way we wanted to.
We had a bunch of guys making plays that drive. You had DJ, you had Reese, you had Mark, a whole bunch of dudes just making plays out there and stepping up in big moments when we needed it the most on that long drive. And, you live for moments like that. And, that was a great drive by everybody just playing, Iowa football and offensively just doing things together. That just shows the things we can do when we're on our stuff against a really good team, right? That just gives us confidence moving forward that, we really can move the ball whenever we want offensively, and, that's a good sign.
I haven't heard that sentiment from anybody for a long time, but boy, it's tough to not believe it there. 12 plays, 93 yards to score with 1:51 left. You saw the 3rd and long to DJ Vanami, more on him in a little bit. A 4th down throw to Reese Vanderzee, his only catch of the day. And then 4th and goal and everything on the line. Who else but Ones on the ground, gave him a little 6-7. what a moment, and you just couldn't help but feel like they did it again. Magic mark, playoff mark. And that's, I think, what makes it all the more hurtful is that you saw the graphic earlier that it's 12 straight losses against ranked teams. These are not walking into Columbus in 22 and 24 and getting your doors blown off. This isn't going to the Big Ten title game against Michigan, and not scoring a point in 21 and 23. This isn't going to Happy Valley in 23 and walking out 31-0. These ranked losses this year, they've been right there. And you heard Kirk say he doesn't think they're that far off. But, boy, you got 4 more games probably of Mark Gronowski, and, man, it's the moments have been really special. And whatever the offense is going forward under Tim Lester, they've turned a corner this year. Could Iowa have managed a 63-yard drive in years past the way the offense was moving? 93 yards, 12 plays, going downfield. Jacob Gill had a long catch earlier to set up the Vanami touchdown in this game. Magic mark, and boy, Tim Lester just calling the bejesus out of a lot of games.
And that's what's maybe hard to have that reality set in for this team, is that coming into November, we had that magic around this team that, like, the CFP hopes are still there. There was an outside chance that they could still make the Big Ten championship game if they in Michigan won out the rest of the year. I think we crunched those numbers along the way. And now that just is not there anymore. I mean, there probably is some scenario in which those things could still happen if a ton of other teams are just losing every game from here on out, but realistically, it's not going to happen. And so we just know that the days are numbered of Mark Gronowski in a Hawkeye uniform. We know that we've got him for 4 more games, no more, and hopefully no less. And that's just tough to know that, like, this guy who has become not exactly, it's a short season to call him a folk hero, but somebody that Hawkeye fans have really cottoned to, that they've come to really appreciate what this guy does, even though he like quarterbacks before him are not throwing for a ton of yards, but he's doing the job and has provided some really magical moments at Kinnick Stadium.
Yeah, and this isn't like a air raid throw it around offense that, some people would want. I personally don't, but, like, it's fun to watch. Like, if you like Iowa football, it's going to be low scoring, especially against these teams that you want to muck it up, you want to sustain drives. But 3 drives of 10-plus yards, like, over the last 3 years, we're dreaming of something like that. 10 plays, the scoring drives were 10 plays, 12 plays.
10 plays, right? Oh, you said 3 drives of 10 yards. I'm like, yeah, they would have taken that too.
10 plays, 12 plays, 75 and 92 yards. Like, and they're in moments where, I know the last one he said do or die, but the first touchdown drive, it's 9-0, right? And, like, you need a score to keep yourself in it. Oregon's going to extend that lead, and then you'll be chasing the entire time. And you've seen it against Penn State. You've seen it against Indiana, too. And Iowa State, there was a long touchdown drive when they needed to respond. It's just it's better offensively. To your point, though, what sucks is, like, Mark's gone after this year. You have to restart with a new. I have a lot of faith in Heck Lindsey. We've only seen a few plays from him, but he looks like a gunslinger. Mm-hmm. But there's still that learning curve next year when you're looking forward. There's going to be 4 or 5 games where you're like, all right, he's going to be a starter for the first time, and maybe they drop a game or two, and you won't get to the spot in November where you have playoffs on the line. That's what kind of stinks. And heck, maybe he just comes out firing all cylinders. I don't think they're going to the portal. Maybe they do that again, but you never know. But
does it make it a little harder? I'm sure it does, but, like, is it difficult to enjoy these last few games? I mean, you still enjoy them, obviously, and you're still wanting them to win and see them do well. But is it just like, again, you're playing for the difference between a Citrus Bowl and a Holiday Bowl for the most part at this point?
Yeah, I personally know. I mean, I'm nervous anytime Iowa teams go out west. I think, there's trouble, but you get a chance to beat USC and Nebraska. Mm-hmm. 2 teams that, I mean, I know there's not a lot of history between, as much history as a Big Ten school with USC, but there's still the 03 Orange Bowl, the Holiday Bowl. Like, I don't think any Iowa fans particularly like USC, so it'll be fun to go into their house and beat them. Sure. Especially that's a ranked team. You get an opportunity to get that monkey off your back next week. So I personally won't. I know there will be a lot of fans who, this day and age, it's like playoffs are bust and it's out the window now, but I'll still watch Hawkeye football.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a chance at 10 wins still. I mean, if you can win out, and again, to do that 4 times in the last 6 full seasons, that's still on the table. And to just get a bowl win, you haven't had a bowl win for a little bit since that Music City Bowl at the end of the 22 season. There's always something to chase, always something to do, and I think you hear Kirk talking about how close this team is, how Logan said that too. Kirk's, I know, really liked this group since January, really, and they sound and reflect Gronowski. It feels like everyone just stays positive and stays together, and they're close. I mean, they're 3 losses to ranked teams by 10 points. I mean, it is a matter of inches and plays there, and I mean, there's a lot to chase, and I hope you get it together and go west and get it all figured out. Mark, by the way, starting 1 for 5 for 3 yards, ended 9 of 13 for 135 and a touchdown, so really settled in well. And speaking of quarterback transfers, Jackson Stratton was not in uniform yesterday. Obviously was dealing with some medical issues we heard about going to the preseason, but you wonder what his Hawkeye future will be down on the depth chart, obviously, with other guys coming in. But made 2 starts last year and made some great throws at Maryland and won a Big Ten road game, and then, of course, held it down against Nebraska. And only touchdown pass of his career as a Hawkeye, that little swing out to KJ, who did a lot of the literal and figurative leg work. But so we'll see what happens with that quarterback room and whether or not they go to the portal. I would feel they don't. But
me too.
We'll see. It's 2025. You don't know.
Yeah, I do have some quarterback-adjacent trivia for you guys. So I was shocked.
Sunday, let's go.
I was shocked to hear that Iowa Gronowski out threw Dante Moore yesterday in terms of total yards. But I was looking back at the stats for this year. Gronowski has outthrown 4 different quarterbacks this year now. Do you know what games they've outgained their opponent in passing yards this season?
It has to be UMass.
UMass is one of them, yes.
Penn State, Oregon, Rutgers. No, it wouldn't be Rutgers.
Penn State, they did not, actually.
Okay, they didn't.
93 to
Minnesota.
68. Minnesota is one, yep.
Minnesota.
They didn't do anything.
Yeah. So Minnesota, Oregon, UMass you got.
I don't think it's Albany because he had a bad game.
Correct.
So, trying to think of the other team we played.
Who else had they played? Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin, yeah. 107.
Hey, shout out Wisconsin. We'll get to that in the picks. Tell you what,
we don't have to get the picks today. We don't have time. I'm just kidding.
I mean, we got a lot of time, Mike. Shout out Wisconsin.
107 to 82 was the comparison that game.
Yeah, heck of a win for the Badgers.
Before we wrap up this segment, we're obviously the CFP chances are done, but little looking forward, bowl projections. There are 2 that I see in the ESPN and CBS. The Rely Quest in Tampa against Missouri and Tennessee. I've seen
Jeff Dubroff country.
I'm into it.
And then this is the one, if we're around this bowl game or around these bowl games, I'd rather play in the Las Vegas Bowl against Utah.
That's always a match. I feel like every early November, it's like, boy, if Kirk Ferentz and Kyle Whittingham could get together in a bowl, and that'd be fantastic. 2 like-minded guys who have been around forever. That'd be a fun one.
It'd be interesting.
I feel like this time last year that was also a projection, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
See, yeah.
Well, before Utah kind of ran off a cliff.
Yeah, that was tough.
Maybe a little earlier it was.
All these bowl games are just like if you've got 6 wins in the Big 10 or Big 12, like you're in the running for the Las Vegas Bowl.
For sure.
Surely.
All right, well, from Mark Magic to some more positivity, you got to find the good in this, things to build on. And we got 3 good things that you can really talk about. Drew Stevens tying a record, 58 yards. You could hear the crowd in this one going, are we really going to try this again after the 66? But I read somewhere the apex of that, maybe it was being sarcastic because it looked a little higher than 15 feet, but that was a line drive. He mollywopped that one and deservedly happy about that. So congrats to Drew tying the school record for longest field goal there, 58 yards, and had a little room to spare. Shout out again to DJ Venami. What a game for him. Had his first career touchdown there after the long gain to Jacob Gill, and then had a long gain of his own on that big touchdown drive in the 4th quarter. It was 3rd and 7, and Mark just settled in and dropped it into a wide open 81. So shout out to DJ for a big win. We had a nice Hawkeye highlight with him a few weeks back. And then, hey, Deshaun Lee, this dude takes too much crap. Heck of a play here to jump in and grab one in the red zone to keep Oregon off the board. His 3rd career interception, 2nd of the season, had that other one that was wild against Penn State on the dive. So shout out to Deshaun Lee. I believe him and Dante Moore's teams might have won state titles the same day in 2021 at Ford Field. Deshaun at Belleville and Dante at Detroit King, but they never played each other in high school. But boy, that's a couple kids from the Detroit area doing some fun things there, and both had their moments, obviously. But any other good things you guys noticed from this one here, I really wanted Kamari Moulton to have that moment. You know, I was really hyped up for him. I was talking to Omar Young before the game, just like, man, if you saw Big Ten Network's feature on Kamari and what he went through in high school, and boy, you just thought, man, what feels like there's destiny in the air, and almost had it there, but had a heck of a game, helped set up that final touchdown.
I mean, this may seem like peanuts, but I was happy to see Bryant Worrell collect himself after two really bad snaps in the first quarter. Like, you know, at least there were a lot of long snaps to come after that, and he collected himself and was part of the fifth. Or does he do the kicking, long snapping, or is it the other guy?
The punting?
Like on the field goals.
Oh, it's Ike.
Okay, that's Ike. So regardless, he still had a few more long snaps to go after that, and managed it cleanly after that second one. And so that's at least something that you can hang your hat on. That they rallied and they cleaned it up. And to what I said at the start of the show too, you're down double digits in not exactly the first quarter, but early in the second quarter, you're down by 2 scores, and you still come back to put yourself in a position to win this game. Iowa is just on the cusp, and maybe that's what makes this loss a little bit more painful, is that I know Iowa's a program and Iowa fans would love to see the Hawkeyes be in that upper crust of Big Ten teams. You have the Ohio State and the Oregon and right now the Indiana that's up there, and then just a little bit behind them is, the Iowas and the maybe Washingtons right now, Michigan maybe, depending on the years, somewhere between there, the USC exactly. And so, again, against Indiana and Oregon, you can see that they're on the brink of maybe becoming that next tier of team at the upper echelon, but they just still need to get over that hump, and maybe that's coming next year, but you can see them at least right on that doorstep.
Yeah, I hate moral victories, but I think that still should be, Hawkeye fans should remember that. Like, right. We talk about those ranked teams. I mean, you were getting blown out 50-7, whatever. Penn State 31-0. It hasn't been pretty. And these last two, and I think Oregon and Indiana are really good teams. They're not like paper tigers, although, this is Oregon's best win now. They still have a heck of a schedule coming up with Washington, although they lost to Wisconsin, and USC. They have to finish that out. You're right there. And, again, like you said, it does hurt because fans want to see those wins.
Exactly.
The other thing I'll say is that we already mentioned it, but it is so refreshing to not be like, this offense is on the field. All right, when are they going to punt? It's like they can take it 90 yards down the field, where before it was just,
93-yard
how far can you punt it?
Yeah.
The 93-yard drive those are fun to watch. And Mark throwing that to DJ, I mean, it's just fun to watch when you can actually convert on third downs and stuff. It's just you're welcome back to like college football, almost. So those are the positives, I think.
Sure. It was a great play design, too, for that 38-yarder to Jacob Gill, his 50th career game in college after coming in from Northwestern, a guy who had like 90-some yards total in 3 years in Evanston. He catches one for 38 to set up a score. Just I talked to him earlier this week just about his run blocking and his journey and all that, and just what he's found in Iowa City, and just a guy that Sam Phillips told me a couple weeks ago, like, that guy sets the standard in the room, just the way he approaches things, and to be a dude who leaves Northwestern, has kind of been a role guy and was beat up, and he's the heart and soul of that wide receiver room. And so to have him have a big play in Kinnick, he's only got one more home game left. All these guys only do. Yep. That was a great, and you had a heck of a shot there of him. Just nerdy camera stuff, like that rain and the camera settings. There were some iconic shots inside. I mean, we're wrapping every camera and anything we can to keep them dry. There were some really, really cool shots coming out of that game.
That was an awesome play design, too, for the Gill.
Love the holy cow.
I'll give you one more, too, and we had to mention this. That Sam Phillips catch, and I think it was a catch, obviously ruled catch.
These guys do Pilates. I know Gill does Pilates. I'm guessing Philip does, too, to just stretch out. Yeah, it's nuts.
I still go back and was watching it, and I'm like, are we sure that was a catch? It's like 98% of him
was a
millisecond out of bounds, and just like the fraction that he got the ball. His toe was, that really, just because none of us could get a really good shot of it because of where it was on the field. And he was all out of bounds. He was like, there were Oregon players on all sides of him, but truly one of the most remarkable catches that we're going to see in college football this year, maybe just behind that Indiana one for the touchdown.
I was going to say, it might have been a better one.
What a silver medal for Sam Phillips, man. Omar Cooper, just, boy, what a game. We were talking.
They had another one to set that up.
Yeah.
The tight end.
Yeah. They had some plays, man. Hey,
heel down. That was crazy.
Fernando Mendoza, that kid's built something different, and it helps when you got guys that can get a toe down for a score. But yeah, some incredible plays there. We were talking in the photog room, the media room down there. You know, usually everyone's lined up getting ready to go out for to the 40 to get the swarm and the national anthem and all that, and everybody was still in the photog room, gathered around the one TV that had that game on. Would send scouts out to check out the door. Okay, 16 minutes before, so the swarm starts at with 9:30 to go before the clock hits 0. And fun moments of where were you? And boy, what a win for Indiana. And again, Penn State. Can't say enough good things about a team that's just trying to get through every week and doing their darndest. Wasn't on our picks list, but Mike, it does look like we have time to go through our picks. I don't know if I want to see mine, but yeah, what a great week for everybody.
I went 0-4. I thought I'd have to give me this sounder. It's my first 0-4, and now all three of us, I have to rub it in, have had an 0-4 season now.
Who's had 2?
So Mitch and I missed out on Northwestern covering. USC won by more than 14.5 points on Friday night. We all whiffed on Washington over. But how can you predict that?
Any given Saturday, man.
I don't know why.
That's what makes it fun.
Mitch and I trusted UCLA to beat Nebraska. Nebraska won by 7.
I've been watching the UCLA the last month. What was not to that's a heck of a win for Nebraska.
Yeah,
that's as good of a win as Matt Rule's had at Nebraska.
TJ Lateef.
And then Mitch was the only one to pick Iowa at the end.
Again, night and day for Lateef. I mean, getting thrown in there and trying to figure it out, that's really tough. But holy cow. Boy, you got something to think about on Black Friday now if you're Iowa with what he's got. Now you got a little tape on him too. But, yeah, a week we should probably flush. Owen's running away with this thing now, 22-21-1. I'm 18-25-1. Mike just slightly better at 19-24-1.
Another kind of side note that is interesting is that I've probably had no fewer than 6 times over the last 2 years where I think, all right, this is the game that Iowa goes to overtime, and we're going to break that overtime streak. Still, October 21st, 2017 was the last time Iowa played an overtime game. They played 2 OT games in 2017, but somehow every game something happens to get them out of an OT situation. Just one of those weird little nuances of football that doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day, but just kind of a strange footnote. Kind of like the pick 6 streak that is nice but doesn't really say much other than it's a weird thing that keeps happening.
How long was it been, did you say?
Since 2017 was the last OT game.
Northwestern. I was at that game in Evanston.
Ugh.
Enough said. Yeah, that was a tough. And Noah Fant, I think he was the only guy that was really making plays that day, if I recall correctly, and had some play involved in him.
17. I thought he didn't have a target that game, or am I thinking another Iowa Northwestern game?
I don't know. I know
it was one where he did not have a target.
I remember a Noah. Maybe that's what it was. I just remember a Noah Fant being a talking point after that game.
Oh, no, he caught a touchdown pass, first one of the game.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Speaking of former Iowa tight ends,
he was at the game on yesterday. That's what I was getting at. Noah was
I
there.
heard Eric All was at the game yesterday. Was it Noah, or were they both?
I saw Eric. He was at a game earlier this year.
Okay.
But yeah, I saw Noah was there.
Jack Leto told me Eric All was there, but he might have been thinking of Noah Fant.
I can't speak for Jack's knowledge.
Didn't they both play for the Bengals? Maybe he got confused.
Could have, yeah.
Do they currently both play for the Bengals?
Fant plays for Seattle.
No, I thought he went to the Bengals.
Yeah.
I think they're both there right
All's
now.
on IR, I believe. He got hurt again.
I mixed it up. Fant started at Seattle.
Hey, speaking of Jack Leto, who works at KCRG, we'll take a moment. Kirk did at his post-game presser as well. John Campbell, who longtime Eastern Iowa sports news consumers might recall, retired in December of 2012. I always make the joke, and I've probably made it to you guys, that when that happened, John just retired and scaled down to 40 hours a week. This was his last Hawkeye game. He's officially retiring, for real, on Tuesday. As a kid who grew up here and got to be on John's Big Ol' Fish when he was 6 years old, and still a seminal moment. My nephew and niece have been on it as well, and what he did for not just sports in general and sports coverage in this area, but particularly hunting and fishing, and what he did with the great outdoors, and a guy who, he was out there for the Fifth Seasons races on July 4th, 7 a.m. with a camera looking for stories. He is the standard and lives a job he loves, and I don't know if he consumes Hawkeye Football Podcast, but John, anybody who grew up in this business or grew up in this area to get in this business, we are forever in your debt, because we learned how to do these jobs by watching you be so damn good at what you do. So I've said it before to him. Just thank you for everything.
And one thing I want to add about John, because I watch him a little bit. I grew up in a weird kind of tweener market where I could watch the Des Moines and the Cedar Rapids station. So I watched John Campbell and Rick Coleman and Ron Steele, as well as Keith Murphy and so forth. But guys like that, I mean, I'd say this about Ron Steele as well and Keith Murphy, that as nice as you think they are when you watch them on camera, they are nicer people in real life. John Campbell is just such a kind person who makes time for everybody, myself or younger folks like, Colin is a new guy over at KCRG, and he's working hard to help him out. And John's out there in the rain yesterday, with his poncho on, and just, the classiest of individuals you could work with.
He had an old 1600 radio back when 9 and 1600 were kind of like under the same brand. I mean, you maybe don't remember. You grew up in Fort Dodge. This is like mid-90s, like a 30-year-old 1600 AM hat on, which is like, just like consummate John Campbell gear.
So I asked him about that hat because I was like, what is that hat you've got? And I was like, is that old radio station? He's like, yeah, here. And he takes off. He's like, look at the slogan. And I go, are you listening? And he goes, the answer was no.
No, I remember that from way back when. And I feel like Bob Brooks was doing hits on there at some point too. I just remember his voice. But yeah, John's the standard and has been just as much in 13 years of retirement than he has been everything he did beforehand. Just, he was the voice of Eastern Iowa sports for me, and so many of us are just appreciative of the way he covered sports and to Owen's point, just the way he treated us. Us, him and guys like Mark Morehouse, when I first started in college, just treated us like equals, and that's a rare thing. Some people look at it as a meritocracy, and it is, and like you got to earn a little respect. But he taught us how to treat the next generation.
And that really is like as important of a lesson as anything you can learn about running the camera, just because it is an industry where it could build a lot of ego. It naturally could build a lot of dick personalities, and John Campbell taught us to be anything but that, to be good guys, to be kind to each other, no matter how much you succeed in this industry, to be good to each other still.
I don't have a lot of experience with John, but I do see him. I think I've seen him 3 weeks
He's
this football
still shooting
season
high school football,
on Friday nights. And I've talked to him a few times. He probably doesn't know my name. But I mean, just a gentleman, so nice. And you're so right about, I grew up watching Keith Murphy, and I met him for the first time when we went down to the bowl game a few years ago against Tennessee, and just the nicest guy. He Absolutely. Is what his persona feels like. And from a little experience I have with John, he's super nice. Just 2 weeks ago, I think I saw him on against North Lynn. We were shooting the same game, and I think he was at the Albernet game last week, but I could be getting my game mixed up. But he's just super nice.
Yeah, and again, the fact that he would, had a whole series that I think filled up a lot of 9.2 time in the summers of the great outdoors of just jump in a boat with, James Vandenberg or Josie Jewell or somebody and just go fishing and just shoot the breeze and those are sports that don't get on TV in a lot of markets. Sports and endeavors and activities, fishing and hunting and things like that. But that's a huge part of growing up in Iowa. And so what he did for those sports on top of everything else and athlete of the week and everything that he started doing back in the 80s at KCRG, he's, you say John Campbell and somebody's got a memory or somebody's got an experience with him. And we're so thankful and grateful that we got to do the same. So John, tip of the hat to you, and thank you for everything. That'll do.
The only reason you wore a hat today, just for this bit that you could tip the hat to him?
No, I'm just introverted. It's like Big Daddy when he puts the glasses on. I feel like I'm just a little safer with the hat on there. So appreciate everybody spending their Sunday with us here on Eye on the Hawks. We'll be back on Wednesday because we got to look to the West Coast, Iowa. Maybe a chance to play playoff spoiler themselves, going to USC. That's a 2:30 kick on BTN for Ren running the ship, as well as Mike and Owen. I'm Mitch. See you Wednesday here on Eye on the Hawks.
At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. We encourage the volunteer spirit by providing DePaco employees with the tools and resources to help grow our communities and support the causes that matter to us. We believe that giving back not only strengthens the places we call home, but also enhances our overall well-being. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.